Hey guys, Susan Thomas here, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a pair of Swarovski sparkler earrings. Okay, so this is a fun pair of earrings that you can make with just about any beads and any head pins, but Labor Day's coming up, so I thought I'd make them with Swarovski crystals so they'd be extra sparkly. So to get started doing this, you're going to need a few supplies. You will need some fancy head pins. Now, a head pin is just a piece of metal that has a fancy end on it to hold the bead on. And this is just a set that I had. You're going to need 10 of those plus 2 for ear wires, so a total of 12. And then you'll also need 10 beads. You want 5 matched pairs of beads. So each earring is going to have 5 different beads on it, but they'll match from side to side. And I just picked some Swarovski crystals that I liked the color of, and you can pick yours as well. As far as your tools are concerned, you're going to need a 1-step looper. You can also use a round nose plier, a 6-step bail shaping plier, a pair of flat nose pliers, a pair of chain nose pliers, and a flush cutter. Okay, to get started making these earrings, the first step is to pick your beads and match them up and then put them on your head pin. So I've already picked my beads. I have 5 pairs of beads here, and I like the bottom beads to be a little bit bigger and the top beads to be a little bit smaller, but you do it how you want to. I used 2 8mm beads for the bottom of my earring, and let me show you a pair of them. This is the pair I'm working on right now. So you can see down at the bottom how these match from side to side, but different beads on every head pin. So these 2 match. That's an 8mm round Swarovski crystal. This is a specialty cut of Swarovski right here. I've got 2 of those, about 8mm as well. Then you go down to about a 6 and a 5 in the top one. So everyone's a different length, but they're kind of cool because they match. So I've got these together, and all you're going to do is take your head pins and load up all of your beads so that you can get started making your earrings. And I already loaded up one set, and I'm going to load up the other set. I've used just colors that I like the look of. You can do these in any different colors. It's kind of neat. I did this pair in with Swarovski crystal pearls, I believe that's what I used on those, and you see how they're all white, so that looks really cool. I did this pair that I'm working on right now, and then look at this. I mean, you can do them any color you want to. So lots of fun. Sky's the limit. Use your imagination. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line up all my beads. So you can decide how you want them. I like to put larger ones down in the bottom. If you want to put larger ones at the top too, or all big beads, doesn't matter. It always looks cool. So first of all, the middle bead is going to use the entire length of the head pin. And so I'm going to lay out the other beads in the pattern that I want them. So I'm going to put this one up at the top, so I know that guy is going to lay there. And this one is going to go just a little bit longer. And this one a little bit longer, and this one closest to the bead. And so they're kind of tiered out at different lengths, so none of them overlap each other. Then you're just going to take a permanent marker, and you're going to mark the length of your head pins. So just use that and go right across. See where the tip of that guy is? You're just going to mark that and mark that like so. That's where you're going to use your 1-step looper to make these head pin dangles. Now, very important to mark the other set of head pins now too, because if you don't, it's impossible to get them exactly the same. I have a bad habit of doing it without marking them and then trying to measure it. They're close to perfect, but not quite. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to match the head pins up, and I'm going to mark them now based on the marks I made the first time. So that guy. And it's easy to find the other head pin that you need to match because they have the same bead on them. So then just look for your mark. There's my mark, and I'm kind of remarking this just to make sure I can see it as well. Got those 2, and then we've got these 2. So just turn till you see your mark. There he is. Line up your head pins from the end, and mark, and mark. And of course, they don't have to be exactly perfect. This one doesn't have to be marked because it's the full length. And then this one does have to be marked. Oops, I gotta get this guy on a head pin. So see how cool these are? Because look, it's like having it's already half finished for you when you use head pins. All right, so then I'm just going to mark that one, and we're all set. So now I'm ready to get my 1-step looper out. So this is gonna be my longest my longest bead. This is the one that's gonna drop down the longest. So I'm just gonna use my looper, and if you've never used this tool before, it is so easy. It loops the ends of your wire perfectly, same size every time. You can use a round nose plier to do this. For this type of a project, it's better if all your loops are exactly the same. It just looks a little nicer. So if you've got one, definitely use one. So I'm just gonna put this in here, and we're gonna use the entire length of the head pin. So I'm just gonna grab it at the end and loop it. That was easy, right? And that back, and then there. That guy is ready to go. Then we'll do the same thing with the other guy. These head pins are great because they are 2-inch head pins and they're 20 gauge. So they're gonna hold that shape. They're a really good temper too, which is the hardness of the wire. You don't want a super soft wire to do this, otherwise it's gonna get all squiggly or you might have to hammer it. With these guys, or these head pins, you can see they've got a really good temper, so they're gonna stay straight. And that is very important to this design. So if you're trying to do this with some old head pins that you had and it's not working out, that might be why. Okay, so now this next one I have marked, and so I'm gonna take my looper and I'm gonna come down to that mark. See, it's right on that little edge, right, that loop right there, and I'm just going to loop it and finish it. And now I don't have to think because I've already got all the rest of them marked. So just bring it down. So I go through the hole in the side of the looper, find my mark, loop. All right, so I'm just gonna bring this in here and find my mark. See, it's gonna measure it, cut it, loop it, done. So, and then I've got this one. Oops, you want to get that out of there. So it's super simple at this point, just loop and finish. Got 3 more to go. You see how fast this is though? It's just a really quick, easy pair of earrings that always looks good. And on this last set, I will show you how to do it with a round nose plier, just in case you don't have a looper. So let me make sure these are all closed up. A lot of times with loopers, what you end up doing is attaching these to something else where you have to open the loop back up. So it leaves just a little tiny opening at the bottom. You just need to close that up if you're not attaching them to like a chain or anything like that. And then make sure they're flat. So that's what I'm doing right now, just making sure everybody is all closed up. Yeah, that one looks good. Okay, so on this one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a loop right on top of that bead. Now, if I had my looper, I would have pulled it all the way down here and it would have ended up pretty much right on top of the bead because would have cut it right there and it would have measured and looped it. But since I don't have my looper this time, I'm gonna give it just a little bit of space right above the bead with my chain nose plier, and I'm gonna bend that back into a 90-degree angle, like so. Then I'm gonna trim off my wire, and I like to trim it right at about 1/4 inch for this size loop. So see that? So now with your round nose plier, you can make any size loop pretty much you want to with this, but you have to, it's kind of like, oh, you probably don't know this, but if you play a violin, you have to find the notes. The notes aren't there. Like the piano, you press a note and it's a C, but on the violin, you have to find it. You have to do the same thing with your round nose plier. You have to find the size of the loop. So it takes a little bit of vision, but I'm just gonna grab it, and I know because I've done this before, and I've cut that at 1/4 inch, that if I mark my plier at 1/4 inch, I'm gonna get a perfect loop. So let me take that and just roll it. So I grab the very end and just roll, roll, roll until it's a perfect loop. So that's how I make my loops. I cut them 1/4 inch, I use a 1/4 inch mark on my plier, and done. Now, obviously the one-step looper was faster, but if you don't have one, I wanna make sure you know what you're doing. So let me grab this again with my round nose plier, and I'm just going to loop this, loop, loop, and now I have my loop at the top. And if it comes a little, see mine got a little crooked there, I'm just gonna take this and kind of crick it back a little bit and then finish the loop, like so. So that guy is ready to go for the top of my earring. So now, I'm gonna set these up in reverse order. I always have to look at my own work to figure out how I did it, but you want the shortest on one side and the second shortest on the other side, and then the opposite for the other pair of earrings, because you want them to be a mirror image of each other. I mean, you don't have to, but I think it looks better that way. That's all up to you. So that's like that, and then you're gonna put the longest one in the middle of these. So you see that's kind of, there's your longest guy. And then I like to put the one that's the third longest next to the shortest one, and then the second longest next to the second shortest. That's just how I do it, but you can do it any order you want to, as long as the longest one's in the center and the shortest ones are on the outsides. It's all good. All right, here we go. So now I have them laid out. That's exactly how I want them. But I need something else. I need a big jump ring to hold it all together. So I'm going to use some 16 gauge wire. You can also use a pre-made jump ring. I just don't happen to have one here. And since I've got my looping plier, this is just a 6-step bail shaping plier that you can make different shapes and sizes of jump rings with. So I'm just going to select a size. I'm going to go right here and make myself kind of a 8mm or so jump ring. So I just rounded it, and then I'm going to use my flush cutter, and I'm going to cut it in one direction, turn it around, and flush cut it in the other, oops, make sure I flush cut it there, in the other direction, like so. So there's one jump ring, need two. So I'll do that again. Make sure you use the same little bail on your bail shaping plier. Once again, you don't have to, but I think it's a good idea. So then I'm going to cut it and flush cut the other way. And so now I have two larger or large-ish jump rings. All right, so now I'm going to take one of my jump rings and I'm going to use a flat nose and a chain nose plier to grab both sides and twist it open. And that's just jump ring opening 101. You always want to use two pliers with flat inside edges and twist them open instead of pulling them open, so it keeps that pretty circle. Here we go. So we're going to load these beads on. 1, 2, 3, just right on those loops that you made. 4, and 5. And then take your flat nose plier and close it back up. Just like so. There we go. He's not wanting to cooperate with me, but let's do the other one. All right, so I'm gonna open this up again, and actually let me get this exactly right because I wanna make sure that I do the mirror image and don't get mixed up. So just lay it out so you can see how you did your beads, like so. And so on this one, I'm going to go the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3. And did I mention you guys can put, you can do 3 beads if you want to, you can do 5, you can do 7, you can do as many as you want to. You could even make them all the same length. You could make 3 short and 3 long. It's whatever you want. Make it your own. It's a really easy technique, but the applications are kind of endless. It's kind of a cool thing. All right, so we're going to get those all on there and then just close that jump ring up just like so. And now I've got 2 earring baubles, mirror images of each other. Now all I have to do is put on a really cool ear wire. Now you can use a pre-made ear wire if you want to, or you can also use your fancy head pins to make an ear wire. So I'm gonna do that. This one's really fancy and it's a little bit bigger, has a lot of presence. So I'm going to use the same plier, probably one of my favorites, to make these ear wires. I will tell you, you can use a dowel, you can use a pen to do this, you can use a toothpick to do the first part. You don't have to have this plier. I always say use what you have. It's easier with this plier, but you don't have to have it. So you're just gonna bend this straight up, creating a little loop or a nook down at the bottom. That's where your bauble is gonna hang. And then you're gonna turn it around and you're going to go around that largest bail on the bail shaping plier. Now this is where you could use a pencil or something like that and get that done. But I'm just gonna wrap it around so that I have an ear wire shape. And then, oh, wait a second. You just take this piece and drop it into the loop, press it closed, and ta-da! Isn't that cute? Swarovski sparklers. Here, I'll do the other one for you. There are other ways to make these ear wires. I'll show you a second option here in just a second, but this is the easiest, the most simple way to make a pair of ear wires with a head pin. And it's a really great finishing touch. Now, I always say your jewelry is all about the finishing touches, so if you put something like this on there, it's just gonna get more attention, it's gonna look more finished and more professional. So this is a great way to get a really professional looking ear wire without spending a lot of money. And so I'm just gonna do the same thing on this one, bend that into an ear wire shape, like so, And then put this on here. Let's see if I got them the opposite. Oh my goodness, I did. All right, so get that in there, close it up, and I have a pair of adorable little earrings. So a couple other things that are really cool about these earrings is, like I said, you can use different beads, any beads you want to. This is kind of fun. I have this head pin loaded up with 5 little 3mm turquoise beads, and they fit right on there, and that made a really cute pair of these little earrings. See? And I did the exact same thing, just measured them like that. I also promised you I'd show you another way to make an ear wire out of these, so let me show you that really quickly. It's easy, but what it does is it helps the pretty part of the head pin face forward. And my friend Ryan Ashley, who comes out here and hangs out with you guys, and I actually came up with this together, so it's kind of a collaboration. So you just bend this straight up, like so, just like I did before. And then you put your looping plier back in there, and you bend it straight back up again. So you end up with a little, let's see if I can show you like this. That little loop at the bottom is a little bit more perpendicular, so that piece sits forward. And then you can choose what type of ear wire you want to. Ryan Ashley always makes hers kind of linear, and I always make mine rounded. It's personal preference, whatever you like. So I'm just going to take this plier right here and bend that over and make mine more rounded, and voila. Wow, right? And so then this little piece, it just sits farther forward, more forward, so it's more obvious, and you get a little bit more of that pretty head pin piece that you really liked when you bought them in the first place, right? So that's another way to make a pair of ear wires with your head pins. So don't forget, you're going to need a limited amount of supplies and a few tools to do this project. You're going to need 5 pairs of matched beads, 5 matched pairs. I used Swarovski crystal today. You're also going to need 12 head pins, 10 that match to make the base and 2 to make your ear wires. And I used some 16 gauge to make my jump ring, but you can also use a pre-made jump ring if you want to. As far as tools are concerned, we used our 6-step bail shaping plier, a flat nose plier, a round nose plier, a chain nose plier, and then your ever important flush cutter, and the 1-step looper. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys would like to pick up some supplies like the ones I worked with today, check out the links down below. What kind of Swarovski jewelry would you like to see us make? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell, and we'll see you again next time.